Welcome to the Wealthy Life. What do chambers of commerce do, and can you benefit? With us today is Bruce Williams, CEO of the Greater Victoria Chamber of Commerce, to discuss. Bruce, welcome.
Thank you, Sybil. Nice to see you.
So when did you first get involved in the chamber, and why?
I've been involved at chambers across the country in various places I've lived. The reason is that the chamber is the voice of business. The chamber is a place where people can meet, they can network with each other, they can take advantage of discounts and benefits offered by other members. But it's a place to really get a handle on what your economy looks like, where the voice of business and the presence of business in a community is defined by chambers of commerce. And in some places they're known as a board of trade, but it's the same thing. It's a place where businesses can connect. And you can make up a lot of ground by entering an organization like the Chamber. Ours, for example, has 1,400 member businesses. It would be very difficult to find those 1,400 people anywhere else than somewhere like a chamber. So the networking part of it's very important.
Oh, that's fantastic. And it's by membership, is it not?
Correct.
And so who would become a member and why?
Well, all sectors are represented in chambers of commerce and boards of trade. It's, as I said, the networking part of it is great. It also means that we can represent their points of view when we do advocacy with government.
So think of an example from a few years ago. Something come to mind?
Yeah, when we were dealing with things like the pandemic, when that was much more of a thing back in March of 2020 and into 2021, people needed an understanding of what the government benefit programs actually meant to them. How does it impact their employees? What can they access? What do they qualify for? What if they file for something and they find out that they don't qualify? Are they going to be penalized? How long should they have continued? What should they have meant to employers? All of those things can be answered by a chamber, which we can then impart on our members. So we can then take their information back to government and say, here's what business thinks should be happening. And I'll mention that the majority of our members, and in most boards of trades and chambers of commerce, in our case, 85% of our member companies have less than 10 employees.
So these are small business owners.
That's right. They wouldn't otherwise probably have a voice as loud as the voice of a chamber of commerce. So we represent their best interests.
So it's a resource group. It's a support group. It's got networking benefits, but also more than that, it's an advocacy group. So the voices of all the members, the chamber then collectively can push forward as an advocacy group to make public change.
Correct. And it depends on where you are in Canada or in the world for that matter. Chambers of commerce and boards of trade can represent different advocacy priorities. The way to look at what advocacy priorities would be is to take a look at any sort of an election campaign on a provincial or a federal level. The things that pop up as the major issues are the ones that are of concern to business, because those are the ones that are speaking to government to say, this is what you need to consider doing. This is what we would like you to do, to take a look at. So, for example, you and I are on the west coast of Canada. British Columbia has a very high priority on climate change and change mitigation.
Good cause.
Yes, but not quite as high a priority for other places. For example, our neighbors in Alberta would not put quite as high a priority on that, but they have other things that matter more to them. So chambers of commerce and boards of trade are very much reflective of the community in which they exist.
Great. Now, what about people who are not business owners? Can they benefit?
Absolutely, because what we do has a great impact on the governance policies of government. So when we do advocate on behalf of the community in general, whether you're a chamber member or not, you would benefit from that. And we also work with businesses to make sure that they remain strong, so that if someone, for example, is not a chamber member, but their employer is, or their company is, that's to their benefit. That means that they have the ability to sustain their job and create prosperity for everybody.
Great. And how about events? How often do people get together, and does the chamber put on all types of events to bring people together?
Yep, sure do. We do. Our chamber in particular does probably a couple of them a month on a pretty regular basis. It's a hybrid going forward. As we all got to know what Microsoft Teams and Zoom means, it actually had some advantage that in those kinds of events, people who couldn't normally attend can do so because they don't have to physically be there. So a hybrid exists of in-person events and events that are done virtually. But yeah, that's where you meet and you mingle and you talk to other people and you make connections and you see someone across the room perhaps you don't know. You go to them and say, hi, I'm Sybil and I do the Wealthy Life, and I do, and that's how you connect with people. So in person, that's the benefit of it.
That's great. Now, what does it cost? Is it expensive to join? Is there different packages available?
How much do you have? No, sorry. It varies from chamber to chamber and board of trade to board of trade. In smaller communities, it's usually a flat fee of X number of dollars. In our case, we have a tiered program. So we have 0 to 10 employees, 11 to 25 employees, and it goes on that level. And the larger the company, the more they pay in a fee.
But if you pay more as a larger company, does that mean all of your employees can attend different events?
It does. It also means that you have more of a weighted vote in decisions made by the chamber. So when we have, for example, an AGM, we vote on a policy. The larger employers have a weighted vote. It's kind of the same model that would be used in a regional government, where smaller municipalities have X number of votes, but the larger municipalities have even more votes to reflect the impact of that community, municipality on the community. So yeah, it's a weighted vote in our case, but in many of the smaller ones across the country, which most of them are, it's a flat fee.
Now, if someone just wants to support the great work of the chamber but is not a business owner, can they just make a donation? Is that something that happens?
Sure, or just get involved. Call your local chamber manager or board of trade manager and ask them what they're doing, what's going on, how can I be involved, how could I support you, and then how could you support me? I think you'd be surprised at the impact that the chamber actually has in day-to-day life.
And the last thing I want to quickly cover before we're out of time is health and dental benefits. Is there some perks that come along with that for chamber members?
Yeah, the chamber across the country has the ability to access that for its members, and therefore it can very often be more affordable for an employer. So a small employer who may not have the capacity to do what they would like to fully do for their employees, by going through the chamber plan, they can offer those benefits to their employees, which is a perk, saying to somebody, I can offer you a job. Oh, and by the way, you get benefits with the job. That helps with retention of employees.
Bruce, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.